In the sterile, unforgiving glow of a penthouse hospital suite, one woman fought for 3 lives, while another planned a future built on her grave. Annalise Reed, her body failing, was giving birth to the twin heirs of the Croft fortune. Her billionaire husband, Sebastian, stood by his mind poisoned by the sweet whispers of his mistress, Victoria. As Annalise's heart monitor began to fade, Victoria's triumphant laughter echoed in the hall, a sound of victory. She believed she had won it all: the man, the money, the children. But she never counted on a mother's final desperate act, a secret test that would expose a lie so monstrous it would shatter their gilded world forever. The rain that fell on New York City that October evening was relentless, a cold, persistent weeping that matched the silent sorrow in Annalise Reed's heart. From the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse apartment on Park Avenue, the city lights blurred into a watercolor of indifferent brilliance. For 2 years, this had been her home, her gilded cage. She had married Sebastian Croft, the formidable CEO of Argent Industries, a man whose ambition was as towering as the skyscrapers his company erected. She had loved him, loved the slivers of the man she saw beneath the armor of wealth and power. The man who would sometimes trace the constellations on her back in the dead of night, whispering dreams that seemed to vanish with the morning sun. But the sun hadn't been rising on their marriage for a long time. It had been eclipsed by Victoria Devereaux. Victoria was everything Annalise was not. Where Annalise was quiet, grace, and gentle strength, Victoria was a blaze of calculated charisma and sharp, glittering ambition. She was a senior VP at Argent Industries, a position she'd used to seamlessly insert herself not just into Sebastian's business, but into his life. Annalise had watched a helpless spectator as Victoria's perfume began to linger in Sebastian's suits, as her name began to punctuate his conversations, as the late nights at the office became more frequent, more transparently false. Sebastian had called it stress. He'd called Annalise paranoid hormonal, especially once she became pregnant. And what a shock that had been. After years of being told she might never conceive, the doctors had confirmed it twins. For a fleeting moment, Annalise thought it would be the miracle that saved them. 2 tiny heartbeats, 2 new lives to mend the chasm that had opened between them. Sebastian had been pleased, but in a detached, proprietary way. He wanted heirs, and now he would have them. It was a successful acquisition, another box checked on the list of a billionaire's life. The joy Annalise felt was hers alone, a solitary, fierce love for the 2 souls growing within her. The pregnancy, however, was brutal. The doctors at the prestigious Mount Sinai Prestige Women's Health Pavilion had labeled her high risk from the start. Preeclampsia had set in early, her blood pressure a volatile storm threatening to capsize her. Swelling headaches and a constant gnawing fatigue became her reality. She was largely confined to the penthouse, a prisoner of her own body and Sebastian's clinical concern. He hired the best private nurses, arranged for medical equipment to be installed in their suite. It was care, but it was the kind of care one arranges for a valuable, fragile asset, not the tender affection of a loving husband. Victoria's presence only grew more insidious. She would visit under the guise of bringing files for Sebastian to sign, her stilettos clicking on the marble floors like a death knell. She would look at Annalise's swollen form with a pity that was thinly veiled contempt. "You poor thing," Victoria had cooed just last week, her eyes the color of cold jade, raking over Annalise. "It's taken such a toll on you. Don't you worry, though. Sebastian and I can handle everything at the office. You just focus on resting." The unspoken words hung in the air. "You just focus on being an incubator. Your role is almost over." Annalise had tried to talk to Sebastian to show him the texts she'd seen the late-night calls from Victoria, work, that were anything but professional. He would shut her down with a weary sigh. "Annalise, you're not well," he'd say. His voice laced with an exasperated patience that cut deeper than any shout. "Victoria is my right hand. The company is in a critical phase. You need to stop this. The stress is bad for the babies."
We won the game.
He was using her children, their children, as a shield for his affair. The realization had settled in her bones like a terminal chill. She was alone.
Even though I was missing, I was still grabbing
Tonight the chill was worse. A sharp, searing pain sliced across her abdomen, stealing her breath. It was a pain unlike any she had felt before. She gripped the cold glass of the window, her knuckles white. 7 months. It was too soon. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror.
And then I was like, guys,
she looked at her reflection in the darkened window, a pale, frightened woman, a ghost in her own home. Another wave of pain crashed over her, more intense this time. A low gasp escaped her lips. She reached for the emergency call button the nurse had insisted she keep with her at all times, her fingers fumbling. The city lights swam before her eyes. She pressed the button. As the chime echoed softly through the silent penthouse, she heard the front door open. It wasn't the nurse. It was Sebastian, and with him the lilting, triumphant laugh of Victoria Devereaux. They hadn't expected her to be in the living room. "Honestly, Seb, you worry too much," Victoria was saying, her voice dripping with amusement. "She's probably just sleeping. She does that all day, doesn't she?" Sebastian murmured something in response, but his words were lost as Annalise's vision tunneled. The pain was a roaring fire, now consuming her. She slid down the window, her hand pressed against her belly, a silent prayer forming on her lips. "Not yet. Please, not yet.
I'm happy we're
Let me be strong enough. Let me save them."
Hopefully I'll be good for next
The last
week.
thing she saw before her world went black was Sebastian's face, his expression of annoyance slowly morphing into shock, and behind him Victoria, her smile faltering for just a second before being replaced by a mask of perfect, calculated concern. The storm outside raged on, but inside Annalise, a far more terrifying one had just broken. The sterile white of the delivery suite at Mount Sinai was blinding. Machines beeped in a frantic, uneven chorus, a soundtrack of crisis. Annalise drifted in and out of consciousness, each lucid moment a fresh wave of agony and fear. Faces swam above her nurses in scrubs, their expressions grim. Dr. Madeline Hayes, her brow furrowed with deep concern, and Sebastian standing near the door, a portrait of conflicted helplessness. And beside him, a dark angel in a designer dress, stood Victoria. She had not left his side. She was playing the part of the devoted partner, her hand resting on Sebastian's arm. Her voice a low, soothing murmur that grated on Annalise's raw nerves. Severe preeclampsia, transitioning to HELP syndrome. Dr. Hayes said, her voice sharp and direct, cutting through the haze. She was speaking to Sebastian, but her eyes kept flicking to Annalise. Her liver enzymes are critical. Her platelet count is plummeting. We're losing her, Mr. Croft. The babies are in distress. We have to perform an emergency C-section right now. It's the only chance for any of them. HELP syndrome. Annalise had read about it in a terrified late-night research session. Hemolysis, elevated liver enzymes, low platelet count, a life-threatening complication. She knew what it meant. Her body was shutting down. It was devouring itself in a desperate attempt to survive the pregnancy. Sebastian, pale and shaken, could only nod. He looked lost, a king stripped of his power, utterly useless in the face of this biological mutiny. This was a problem he couldn't solve with money or intimidation.
We had like 12 people show up
Do it,
yesterday,
he choked out.
and I
Do
kinda
whatever
like
you
to
have to.
Like 9 or 10, because then like
As the team prepped her for surgery, a maelstrom of activity around her gurney. Annalise's gaze locked with Victoria's. The mask of concern had
How am I going to
slipped.
have energy for the playoffs, chat?
For a fraction of a second, Annalise saw it a flicker of pure, unadulterated triumph in those jade eyes. Victoria believed this was the end. The inconvenient wife was being surgically removed from the picture, leaving behind the 2 precious heirs she could raise as her own. A nurse began to wheel Annalise toward the operating room. As they passed Sebastian, he reached out his hand, hovering over hers, before falling away, as if he wasn't sure he had the right to touch her. Annalise. He began his voice thick with a guilt she was too weak to appreciate. But Victoria's grip on his arm tightened. "Let them work, darling," she whispered, pulling him back. "We can't be in the way. We have to be strong for the children." We. The word was a poisoned dart. The children.
When we were coming back,
She said it as if they were already hers.
When I was at the top of the key,
the operating room was
they
a
were playing
cold,
zone,
bright
so I had
theater
2
of
guys
steel
on me.
and focused
So I went for
tension.
a pump fake. They
Annalise
both
felt
jumped,
the prick
and I
of the
swung
epidural,
bar,
the slow,
ball
creeping
hard as
numbness
fuck,
that didn't
because he's
touch the
wide
terror
open on the
icing
wing,
her
and
veins.
it just goes right through his
She was
hands.
fighting,
Coach pulls him
fighting
out,
to stay awake,
and
to hold
he
on.
doesn't play for the rest of
She
the game
had to
because
see
that
them.
was like his 5th
She had to
fuck-up
know they were
yesterday
safe.
in like 5 minutes.
"We're
Maybe even
starting,"
less than 5
Dr.
minutes
Hayes
of playing time,
announced.
Maybe like 4.
Annalise stared at the
Before the
reflection
buzzer
in a
even
polished
sounded,
metal
Chad,
lamp above her,
before the
a
buzzer
distorted,
sounded, this
blurry
24-year-old
view of the life and
puts on
death
his
drama
coat,
unfolding
walks right
below.
out of the gym.
She felt a pulling, a
Then when
strange,
we were having
profound
our
pressure,
post-game meeting,
and then a cry.
they said,
A
"Where's
thin,
this
reedy
guy?"
wail
And I said,
that
"You
cut
guys didn't
through the
see?
clinical
He
din.
straight up put his jacket on and
"It's a
walked
boy,"
right out.
a nurse
And they were like,
announced.
"Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, he's probably
Born
not
at
coming back."
8:14 p.m. Weight
He's-
is
I can pretty
2.8
much almost
pounds.
guarantee that
A boy.
that this kid is not going to
Her
come
son.
back. I mean, when I tell you,
Tears
like, you
streamed
had
from the corners of
opportunity. You know what I'm
Annalise's
saying, DK?
eyes,
And
hot
DK, this is in the
trails on
midst
her
of, like,
cold skin.
a 15
A wave of
comeback.
love
It's
so
a 2-point
powerful it
game.
almost erased
And he
the
just puts his
pain
jacket
washed
on and
over
fucking
her.
walks out.
A
So,
minute later, another
I
slightly weaker
honestly wouldn't be
cry
surprised if
joined
he
the
doesn't come back.
first.
I'd be surprised. I'd be more
And a girl
surprised if he
doctor.
came back than I would if he
Hayes
doesn't come
said
back.
her voice tight
Josh,
with
my baby,
concentration.
Good morning, bro. They are.
8:15
They are having a good season.
p.m.
Thank you so much for the
2.6
26-month resub,
pounds.
Josh. I appreciate
They're
the shit
both
out of you,
small,
bro.
but they're
Thank you
fighting.
very,
Get them to the
very much,
NICU
Josh.
now.
I appreciate
Her
it, bro.
children.
Because DK, here's the thing,
They
bro.
were
I wanted
here.
to keep playing.
They were real.
I know I couldn't.
But
So
as the
that's why I
relief
brought myself
flooded
out,
her,
but we
her
were
body
coming back,
betrayed
right?
her
Like, we brought
completely.
ourselves back, the lineup that we had in.
The beeping of the heart monitor
and, like,
beside
as
her
much as I
head
wanted to
escalated
play,
into a
you could be
shrill,
like my boy, the
continuous
white boy,
alarm.
who didn't
"She's
play a single
crashing.
second, and he was
Blood
still
pressure is
here for the
bottoming
team.
out," someone
You know what I'm saying?
shouted.
So,
"We have a
this guy-
bleeder. I need
we're
more
winning,
clamps."
we're coming back,
And 4
then
units
you
of
just put
O-negative
your
stat
jacket on and
Dr.
fucking
Hayes
walk out.
commanded.
You're a bitch.
The
Like, you
world
paid,
began
I
to
think,
fade to
$60
gray.
or something,
Annalise's
$70
last
to
conscious
play in
thought
this league,
was
and you
not
just
of
do that?
Sebastian,
Like,
not of her own
where is the
fear,
team
but of her
camaraderie?
babies.
So, yeah, we're better off without it, bro.
Two
This dude
tiny,
sulks every
fragile
time he
fighters
misses a
born
shot.
into a
He thinks he's
world where a
good.
viper was waiting to claim
Yeah,
them.
so I honestly couldn't care less.
Outside the
because
operating
honestly, I would
room,
prefer he
Sebastian
doesn't come back
paced the
because
hallway
I
like a
hate having
caged
to try to,
animal.
like, lift him up,
Victoria
you know?
sat
He misses a
perfectly
shot, I gotta be like,
poised
"No,
on
come
a
on, keep
sterile
shooting, keep
waiting
shooting." I
room
don't wanna
chair,
keep shooting.
scrolling
Yeah.
through her phone.
Anyway,
A nurse
after the
emerged,
game,
her
Chad,
face
you guys know
somber.
I told y'all.
"Mr.
the whole team's
Croft,
sold. I told
the babies
y'all
are in the
that
neonatal
there were
intensive
2
care
white guys on
unit.
the team that I
They
really
are
like.
stable for now.
And
They're
that this is my
premature,
way of
but they're
finally
strong."
making friends here, right?
Sebastian's shoulders
So,
sagged with
after
relief.
the game, I'm talking with them.
And
we're
my
fucking
wife,
around with each other,
Annalise.
like, I was
The
like,
nurse's
I told
expression
the white guy
tightened.
who didn't play a single second. I was like, "Hey, bro,
Dr.
maybe we
Hayes
should
is
join,
still
like, a
with
beer
her.
league or something."
She
And like we were all just like
She lost a
laughing
lot
and
of blood.
whatnot, and when
They're
we were
doing
walking
everything
out,
they
I
can.
was like, "So
It's very
like,
touch and go."
I'm being serious here. Do you guys
As the
wanna,
nurse
like,
walked away,
hang out,
Victoria
go to a
stood
bar
up
sometime?
and glided over to
Never
Sebastian, wrapping her
asked
arms around him.
guys?
"Oh,
if I
darling,
wanted to go to
you
a-
heard
if they
her.
wanted to
The
go to a
children are
bar,
strong.
bro.
You have
Like,
a son and a
never.
daughter. You
So
did
I'm
it."
like, you
She
guys know me,
framed
I'm
it
very
as his
extroverted,
victory.
but I've never had to do
Sebastian,
that
numb with
because I
shock
have all my friends and
and a
family in
dawning
Michigan, right?
horror at his own
I've never
neglect,
had to do that.
allowed
But here's the
himself
thing,
to be
DK, I'm
held.
not asking one guy, I'm asking 2
She
guys.
might
and these are the
die,
2 guys that I've been
Victoria.
closest with for the entire season.
Victoria soothed her lips
So
close
it
to
was
his ear.
It was like, hey man, you want to go?
Annalise is a fighter.
Want to hit up a bar?
But whatever happens, you
And they were
won't be
both like,
alone.
yeah, like, you know,
We
make a
won't
group
be
chat or whatever,
alone.
we'll plan
We will
it,
raise
we'll
these
plan it,
children
let's do
together.
it.
They
And
will
it's
have a
great
mother.
because
I
one of the
promise you.
guys is from, I think,
Her words were perfectly
Alabama.
comforting, perfectly
So he doesn't
supportive.
know anybody here. He's got a
But as she
fiancé.
held him, she
He's
glanced
engaged as
down
well.
the empty
So
corridor
he doesn't
toward
have
the
any friends
operating
here, just him
room,
and his fiancé.
and a
And then I
small,
don't know if the
almost
other white guy has
imperceptible
somebody or
smile
not, but he's
touched
from
her
East
lips.
North Carolina,
She had been
like near
playing the
Wilmington.
long
So
game,
I don't
a
think he
game
knows
of
like many
patience
people in
and
this area either.
poison.
So
And it
I was
seemed
like,
she was
"Sweet,
just
man.
moments
I'm
away
not
from
Sam at all.
checkmate.
Good morning, baby. I hope you're having
In
a
the
great
theater
start
of
to your day. You
cruelty,
made it just in
she
time.
had so
Anyway,
carefully
fucking
constructed the
excited,
final
bro. Look at
act
me, I'm
was
making
about to
friends
begin.
in North Carolina, you know what I'm saying? Like, this
For
was the
3
whole reason I
days,
did this legal
Annalise
for,
lingered
you
in the
know?
intensive care unit, a ghost
I have a repair guy
tethered to
coming
the
at
living
9.
world
Yeah,
by a
don't worry
web
about it,
of
Freak. I appreciate
tubes
you
and
tuning in, bro.
wires.
Thank you, fam.
She was unconscious, her body waging a
Until
silent,
that part,
desperate
DK, yeah,
war.
but
Down the
bro,
hall, in
how
the
cool is
hushed,
that?
dimly lit
I've
sanctuary
never
of the
had to, like,
NICU, her 2
try to
children,
make
Nathaniel
friends, you
and
know, and get
Olivia,
real young
lay
or
in
make
their
new friends.
incubators,
Well,
tiny
Emma, how would I
marvels
have
of
met people? I'm gonna
resilience,
go up to a guy
fighting
at
their
fucking
own
Harris
battles
Teeter
for
or
life.
Publix and say, hey man, I like
And in the vacuum
BOGO
left
deals
by
too. You wanna hang
Annalise's
out?
absence,
Like, what am I
Victoria
supposed to fucking do,
bloomed.
bro?
She
So,
had seamlessly,
this
ruthlessly
basketball league was
installed
perfect.
herself as the de facto lady of the manor.
And now,
She was the one at
yeah, I think
Sebastian's
we're going
side,
out. I think
her
we're going
hand
out
a
tomorrow,
constant proprietary presence on
to a
his
bar.
arm. She was the one who spoke to the
I'm
doctors,
excited.
absorbing the medical jargon
Yeah,
with
exactly,
a keen
DK.
intelligence,
Exactly, bro.
reframing
But
the
it was
information
funny
for
because they
Sebastian
both said,
in a way that always
Joe, we
subtly
think that you,
underscored
we
Annalise's
think that you
fragility
made-
and her own
we think
strength.
that,
She was the one who intercepted
you
calls
made
from
a wrong-
Annalise's
like, you didn't
concerned
need to make this
family,
group chat.
offering
The guys with
placating,
playtime
vague
are over
updates
there.
that kept them
And-
at a distance. The
Because
doctors
neither
need
of
her
these
to
guys
have
really play all that
absolute
much. Hey, you
quiet,
got this shit,
Victoria
guys.
would say
You got
into the
this.
phone,
You got this, bro.
her
Because,
voice
like I said,
dripping
I'm
with
playing
false
32 out of the 40
sympathy.
minutes on average for these games.
It's
If I'm
best if we
drinking
let
beer
the
at
medical
Blue
team
Moon,
do
what
their
up, Wolo
work.
Dolo? How you doing,
Sebastian
baby?
is
No, they don't
distraught,
know.
of course,
They
but
think
I'm
I'm an
making sure
engineer still, so
everything
I'll
is
start
taken care
talking
of.
to 'em.
Her
Maybe
masterpiece
I'll
of
open up
performance,
tomorrow, but I
however,
actually
took
do.
place
See,
in the
they
NICU's
think I'm still
private
an
viewing
engineer,
room,
so,
reserved
yeah.
for the Croft family.
I don't think I want to tell
Sebastian,
them just yet.
consumed
I'll
by
probably tell
a
them tomorrow, like,
paralyzing
you know,
cocktail of
I'm sure
guilt,
they drink
fear,
beers, they're white. I
and a
don't know.
strange,
Okay, guys,
dawning
we're late.
pride
Podcast
would
time,
stand for
podcast time.
hours, his palms pressed
sorry, I had a lot
against
of
the
stuff that I
thick
wanted to talk
glass,
about. Podcast
staring
time,
at his
podcast time. Let's get it,
impossibly
y'all. Let's get it,
small
let's get it.
children.
Who's excited?
Victoria
Podcast
would
time.
stand beside him, mirroring his posture, her head resting on his shoulder.
Listen,
"They're
bro, I'm just
beautiful,
happy that
Sebastian,"
we're making
she'd
friends
whisper.
now, man. Plain and simple.
"She has your
Appreciate
eyes,
all
I
y'all that are
think.
here. Let's get this
And he
episode
has your
started.
jawline, so strong." She was weaving a narrative, stitching herself into the very fabric of their existence. She began to refer to them as our babies. She started a group chat with her own social circle, sending them blurry photos of the incubators with captions like,
ladies
"Meeting the
and
new loves
gentlemen,
of my
it is your
life.
host with the biggest
My
nose,
world
Jay-Z
is
Courtside,
forever
coming at y'all
changed."
today on
She busied
Thursday,
herself with the
December 4th.
practicalities,
I
a
remember the
whirlwind
day,
of decisive
finally. I hope
action
you guys are all having
that
a
made
great
Sebastian's
start to your
grief-stricken
Thursday morning.
inertia
It is
seem
9
even
a.m.
more
As
pronounced.
y'all know, we do all
She
these
commissioned a
podcasts
renowned
live
interior
on Twitch,
designer,
on
a
TikTok,
man named
on
Jeffrey
YouTube. If you guys
Lang,
wanna get a
to
part of the action
completely
and become
overhaul
part
the
of our
nursery at
interactive
the
podcast,
penthouse.
be
The
sure
theme
to
Annalise
follow,
picked
subscribe,
was
5-star
so
ratings and reviews for all
drab,
you podcast
darling,
listeners.
she told Sebastian
You guys,
one
you know,
evening in
y'all
the
mean
hospital
just as much to me as
cafeteria,
the live
dismissing
crew does.
months of
Be
Annalise's
sure
careful,
to tune in
loving
live
planning
Monday
with a
through
flick of
Friday
her wrist.
at 9 a.m.
We need something vibrant,
Eastern.
something
We
that
have a
speaks of a bright
pretty
future.
fun podcast
I'm
today,
thinking a
y'all.
celestial
All things
theme
considered, the
for our
Pistons
little
lost,
stars.
so I'm, you know,
She
I'm
was
going through that
erasing
right now.
Annalise.
But still,
Every
some
decision,
important
every
hoops
word was a
from last
careful
night that I do
brushstroke,
wanna
painting over
discuss.
the woman
We
who was
haven't really
fighting for her
done
life,
a
just
different
2 floors
segment
above them.
this week.
The
So,
serpent's
this
true
week,
nature,
we're
however,
actually
was revealed when
doing a different
Annalise's
segment.
younger
We
sister,
are
Genevieve
doing a
Reed,
different segment.
arrived.
And it's
Genevieve
going to
was
be
a
the last
firecracker,
segment
a
of
sharp-witted
today's
journalist
pod.
from Chicago, who possessed
We're
none of
basically going to be
Annalise's
talking about the
quiet
teams that should be
patience.
having a
She
fire
flew in on the
right?
first flight she could get,
But
a
first,
storm of
before we
righteous
break down
fury
2 games
and
from
terror,
last night,
and marched
I wanna
directly to
talk
the
about,
ICU.
one of the trending topics that
She
are
found
going
Victoria
on.
holding court
And,
with a
I
nurse nurse discussing Annalise's prognosis, as if she were a business asset whose value was depreciating.
last night. So
Who are
we're going
you?
to start off with the
Genevieve
trending topic
demanded,
of,
her voice cutting through
well,
the
I have his
hushed
jersey
corridor.
behind me. Giannis
Victoria
Antetokounmpo
turned her expression of practiced concern
apparently
faltering for a
has
moment.
requested a trade.
I'm Victoria
prior
Devereaux,
to this
a close
NBA
family
season
friend.
beginning. Now that
I know who
caught me
you
off
are.
guard.
Genevieve spat, her eyes
And apparently
blazing.
the news
You're
broke
the
out
piranha
even
who has been
more
circling my
that
sister for a
after the
year.
Bucks
What are you
signed
doing here? I am
Miles
supporting
Turner
Sebastian in his time of need.
from
Victoria
the Indiana
replied,
Pacers,
her
that's when
voice
Giannis
turning to
walked
ice.
into the office and said, yeah,
Which
I
is
want
more
a
than I can
trade.
say for a family that hasn't
Talk
been here
about-
until now. We were told to stay away by you.
Talk about a blow
I'm guessing.
to your team's
Genevieve
morale.
shot back.
The fact that you
She pushed
went and
past
got
her.
him a stretch
I'm here to see
center
my
after you
sister.
lost your stretch center in Brook Lopez.
The clash was
You
immediate
get a new
and
guy,
brutal. For the
and when
next
you
2
hear about who
days,
that new guy
the
is,
hospital became their
you go into the
battleground.
front office and say,
Genevieve
yeah, I
sat
want
by
out.
Annalise's bedside, holding her
And if that
sister's
doesn't speak the
unresponsive hand,
volumes of
whispering
Giannis
words of
Antetokounmpo,
encouragement,
basically,
memories of their childhood, and
the
promises to
issue
protect
here
her
is
children.
that
Victoria,
when Giannis
meanwhile,
went into
controlled the
office,
flow of
Giannis is
information
not a
to
guy
Sebastian, painting
that
Genevieve
says,
as a
"I wanna
hysterical,
leave.
unstable
We
influence
suck.
who was upsetting the
I'm
delicate
done."
balance.
Giannis is not that type
The
of
tension
guy.
came to a head
Giannis,
outside
when
the
he's
NICU.
committed to something,
Genevieve
is
had
fully
just spent an
committed.
hour
So,
gazing at her niece and
as far
nephew,
as
her heart aching with a
hypothesizing
love so
trade
fierce it felt like a wound.
to go in the middle of the
As she
season,
left,
that's not gonna
she saw
happen, ladies.
Victoria speaking with one of the
I gotta
neonatal
shout out this
nurses,
dude in the
a young
TikTok
woman
very
named
quickly.
Brenda.
This is hilarious.
Victoria
He
was
said,
handing her a
what's
thick,
this guy's
cream-colored
name?
envelope.
He said, Nick said,
This is
"Hey,
just a
Giannis,
little
we got
something to
Jericho
show our
Sims. We're good."
appreciation, Victoria was
After
saying
last night, hey
smoothly.
man, Jericho Sims might be an MVP.
Sebastian
this
and
week,
I
okay?
are so grateful for the special attention
So,
you're giving our little ones.
Giannis Antetokounmpo,
We know we can count on
this
you to keep us
trade
updated
is-
on
I just
everything.
don't
It
think
looked
it's
like a
going to
generous
happen.
tip.
I know he walked into
But
the
Genevieve
office
knew
and
better.
said,
It
"I
was a
wanna be traded
bribe.
in the offseason."
It
When
was
that didn't
Victoria,
happen,
buying
he
loyalty,
specifically
ensuring
said New
she
York, by
was
the
the
way.
primary
When that didn't
contact,
happen,
the one the
Giannis
nurses
didn't
would
sulk.
see as the maternal
Giannis didn't
figure.
say, I'm not playing for
Genevieve
this team."
waited until
Giannis didn't say
Victoria
any
had
of that.
swept
He
away
didn't
before
add any
approaching
of these
Nurse
extra
Brenda.
theatrics. He did not do that.
Excuse
Because
me, Genevieve
when
said, her
Giannis
voice
starts
low
the
but
NBA
firm.
season, he is
I'm
only
Genevieve
paying
Reed,
attention to the
Annalise's
NBA
sister.
season. He's not looking to get
The nurse
involved in
looked
any of these
flustered, quickly
these
tucking the
drama
envelope
takes.
into her pocket.
He's not getting involved
Yes,
with
of
any
course.
of this BS
It's nice to meet
regarding
you.
what team
My
there,
sister
what
is the
team
mother
here.
of those
He's
children,
only
Genevieve
focused
said,
on
her
the
gaze
Milwaukee Bucks.
unwavering.
Now,
Not
there's
that
a
woman.
couple issues
Whatever
now
she is
when
telling
you
you,
look at this.
whatever she is
Because
paying you for, Annalise, is their mother.
I got
Don't you
reminded
forget that.
yesterday at my personal basketball
Nurse
game,
Brenda
right?
stammered. Miss
At
Devereaux
my adult
has just
league,
been so
we were talking
involved,
about
and
this whole
Mr.
Giannis
Croft
situation.
delegated. He's
And
grieving
I
and he's
said
being
to a couple of
manipulated,
the guys on my
Genevieve
team,
interrupted.
Giannis is not
I'm
going
just
to be
asking
traded
you
in
to
this
remember
season.
who is lying in
There's
that
just no way.
ICU
It's too
bed.
big of a trade
She's fighting
to
for her
happen.
life, for
And
them.
then
Don't
one of
let
my
that woman
teammates
erase her.
looked at me and
Genevieve
said,
walked
"Hey,
away,
man, after
leaving
that
the
Luka
nurse
Doncic
looking
trade,
troubled.
anything could happen."
She had planted a seed of doubt,
Step
a
back,
small
I was like,
act of
"Damn."
rebellion in
Yeah, you're
Victoria's carefully
But
managed
then I even
kingdom.
looked at him and I said, "But that was a different."
But as she
situation. That
returned
was
to
Nico Harrison.
Annalise's silent room,
One of the dumbest
a
humans that
terrible
walked the
sense
face
of
the earth.
dread
That's
washed
different.
over her.
I'm like, it's the New York
Victoria
Knicks.
wasn't just planning for
They're
a
not gonna do
future
something
without
like that. And then he
Annalise.
said, "Joe,
She was
we're not-
actively building it, brick
This is
by
the
gilded
exact
brick,
same
right on
situation.
top of her
What are you talking
sister's
about?"
dying body.
He said,
And Genevieve feared with a
"It was the
chilling
Dallas
certainty
Mavericks trading
that a
Luka
seed
Doncic
of
to the
doubt
Los Angeles
would
Lakers.
not be enough to stop her.
So you have a middle market team
She needed a weapon.
trading to one of the biggest.
On the fifth day,
franchises.
the improbable
Look at
happened.
this situation. You have a middle
Annalise
market team in the
woke up.
Milwaukee Bucks.
It wasn't a
Small
dramatic,
market
movie-like
to,
awakening.
again, another
It was a
biggest
slow,
market in the NBA,
painful
in New
crawl
York.
out of
And
a
then I
deep,
said,
dark abyss.
Oh.
Her first sensation was a fire in her
Wow.
throat from
So
the
I was having some
intubation
real good
tube that had
conversations
just
last
been
night with my
removed.
basketball team.
Her second
Because,
was a
yeah, I
profound,
could see
crushing
the
weakness,
similarity.
as if her very
But the only
bones had
issue
turned
is,
to
this is
dust.
Dolan, you know?
But her eyes
Dolan is
fluttered
very
open,
different.
and they were lucid. Genevieve was
like
asleep in the
the
chair
Lakers
beside the
franchise
bed,
now.
her
I
head
don't
slumped
know
at an
personally.
uncomfortable angle.
I
Annalise's
just
weak
don't
attempt
see
to
this
move her
happening
fingers was
in
enough
the
to
middle
startle
of the
her
season.
awake.
I think I'm going to stand by that.
Annalise
I think I'm gonna
Genevieve's
just
voice
hold
was
my
thick
ground
with
here
sleep
and confidently
and
say
disbelief.
that
She shot
Giannis
upright, her eyes
Antetokounmpo
wide.
is not going to
Oh
get
my God,
traded
you're
in the middle
awake.
of this season. I think
Tears streamed down
so
Genevieve's
different
face
than that
as she
Luka
gently
trade.
squeezed
Because
her sister's
here's the
hand.
thing. Every
A doctor
team in
was
the NBA
summoned,
now
and there was a flurry
knows
of quiet,
that Giannis is
optimistic
available.
activity.
So you
Vitals
know
were checked.
Horse just getting
Questions
these
were
calls
asked.
around the clock
Annalise's
right now.
responses were
Hell,
weak. Her voice a
seems
raw,
like-
barely
seems like
audible
the
rasp.
Hornets or the
But she was
Nets
present.
Are reaching out.
She was
I mean, the
aware.
Nets have a lot to trade.
The doctors
with all
called
due
it a
respect.
remarkable
He's getting
turn.
calls from the Hornets.
A
He's getting
fighting
calls from the
chance.
Pelicans. He's getting calls
For a few
from the
precious
Kings.
hours,
You know what I'm saying?
hope, a
Nico
fragile,
Harrison
fluttering thing
did
filled the
this
sterile
because
room.
he knew it was a
Sebastian
bad trade.
was called.
He didn't make
He rushed
Luka
in his
Doncic
face a
available.
mess of
Because
relief and
let's just
anguish.
say, ladies
He
and
looked at
gentlemen,
Annalise,
that Nico
truly looked at
Harrison
her for the
instead
first time in
said,
months,
"Hey, everybody,
and saw
Luka's
not an
back.
inconvenience
He's
or a
up on the trade
hormonal
block.
accuser,
Can I get
but the
some
woman
calls?
he had once
Y'all,
loved, ravaged and broken, but
you know they're getting
miraculously,
calls
impossibly
from
still
every single
there.
team. Hell, they're getting
Annalise.
calls from Iraq.
He breathed, his voice
Let
cracking.
alone Milwaukee, let alone
I'm so sorry.
Lakers.
She just looked at him,
So
her gaze
the
holding a
reason Nico
universe
didn't
of
do that is
pain
because it was a
and
personal
weary
vendetta
forgiveness.
towards Luka Doncic.
She was too
He
weak
just
for
didn't
anger.
like Luka, right?
But the hope
We
was
all
a
know now
false
that Giannis
dawn.
is available. So now
Later
every
that
team is going to be
afternoon,
throwing
as
up their
Dr.
best
Hayes was
packages
reviewing her
possible
latest blood
for
work,
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
the alarms began to sound again.
There's a little
An
clause
internal
that I wanna add at
hemorrhage,
the end of this
a
segment.
catastrophic complication
happened
from the
last night,
surgery,
actually.
and the Hell P syndrome.
With that being said,
Her
the
hard-won
Milwaukee
stability
Bucks
crumbled
are
in
not
minutes.
going to just
Dr. Hayes's
okay,
face
we'll
was a
take Karl
mask
Anthony
of
Towns and OG
professional
Anunoby and
sorrow.
2 first-rounders.
She explained the situation
They're
to
not gonna do
Genevieve
that.
and
They're
Sebastian
going
in
to
the
get their
hallway.
offer from the Knicks. They're
There
gonna
was
get
nothing
their
more they
offer
could
from
do.
the Mavs. They're going to get their
Her system
offer
was
from
too
the
weak to survive
Lakers,
another
from the
surgery.
Thunder, from the Pistons,
Her
from the
platelets
Cavs.
wouldn't clot.
Hell, they're going to pick
It
up
was
the
a matter
phone
of
when the Kings
hours,
call.
perhaps less. Sebastian broke
They're going
down
to gauge
completely.
all of their offers.
A gut-wrenching sob of a man who had realized the value of what he was losing,
What is best.
only
Ladies
at
and
the
gents,
exact
Giannis is
moment
not
it was being taken away
going
forever.
to get traded in the middle of the season.
Victoria, who had arrived moments before,
I would,
rushed
before
to
we-
his
before I'd
side,
like to move
enveloping
on, of
him
course, as
in
you
an
guys know, we're
embrace
going to
that
break
was
down
both
2 of the games
comforting
from last night.
and possessive.
One of them the
Her
Spurs,
eyes
one of them
shooting
the Mavs.
daggers at
And
Genevieve
then we're
over
going
his
to talk about
shoulder.
my segment where teams should be having
Genevieve
a fire
ignored
sale.
them
So in
both.
case you guys just tuned in,
Her world had
that's what we're gonna be
shrunk
doing. Be
to
sure
a
to
single
drop a follow. We
point,
do these
her
live
sister.
shows every morning at 9 a.m.
She
Eastern.
went
If you
back
guys
into the
are
room,
enjoying the
her
stream, you
heart
would
a
enjoy
leaden
much,
weight
much
in her
more
chest.
over here on the Twitch stream where I take
Annalise
comments and
knew.
respond to them because that's what
There was a
makes this
terrible
podcast
clarity in
interactive
her
and different
eyes,
from
the
everybody else.
lucidity of
So,
the
link in
dying.
my bio TikTok if you guys would like
She
to
beckoned
enjoy the
Genevieve
stream
closer
to the
with a
utmost
faint,
capability.
trembling gesture.
Giannis Antetokounmpo
Jen,
last night against the Detroit
she
Pistons went
rasped
down
each
3 minutes
word,
into the
an
game
immense
with
effort.
an apparent calf injury.
The babies.
And it was non-contact.
You saw them.
We've seen this exact same injury
They're
2
beautiful,
years ago
Annie.
from Giannis, where he and it was
Genevieve
like the
said her
exact
voice
same
choked
situation,
with
where he's
tears.
sitting on his behind,
A boy and a
just with
girl.
his knee in front of him.
They're perfect.
He's got a calf
A
strain.
faint
ladies and
smile
gents.
touched
You know
Annalise's
what
lips.
that means, right?
Nathaniel
You know what a calf strain
and
means,
Olivia.
right?
She had chosen the names months ago. She took a
Durant,
shaky breath, gathering her dwindling
Halliburton,
strength.
Kobe,
You have to. Promise
Tatum,
me something.
they all started with a calf
Anything,
strain.
Genevieve whispered,
And
leaning in so close
this
she
is
could
scary.
feel the faint, cool air of her
Giannis,
sister's
do
breath.
Not rush back. And
She
in
won't.
my honest opinion,
Let them
he
know
should
me.
sit out for as long
Annalise
as
said,
he
her
wants.
eyes flickering
I
towards
pray
the door
that
where
he-
she knew
we do not
Victoria
need
was
another
lurking.
Guys, there's been way too
She'll
many injuries. There
Erase
has
me.
been way
She wants them.
Too many injuries this
She wants
season.
everything.
I pray that we don't lose
Her breath
another
hitched.
player in their prime.
I don't trust her general, I never
Giannis
have.
Antetokounmpo.
Something
Not
she said
just
once
that he can get
about
traded,
a
but
clinic in
can we be
Switzerland,
so for real here,
about
y'all?
ensuring
I
a
miss
pure
Tatum.
lineage. I thought I misheard,
I miss
but her
Halliburton.
eyes.
I do not
Annalise
like
trailed
this injury.
off, lost in a memory
miss
of a
watching these
cold,
guys play,
calculating look she had dismissed at the time.
And the last thing we need now
What do you need
is
me
for
to
Giannis
do?
to tear his
Genevieve
Achilles.
asked, her voice steady despite the tears burning her eyes.
I mean, everybody's
Protect
calling
them.
Milwaukee right now.
Annalise
Everybody's
whispered, her
calling
grip
Milwaukee.
on Genevieve's
So
hand
let's just hope
surprisingly
Giannis is fine
tight.
and they can move on.
Prove they are mine.
unfortunately,
Mine
for
and
me, beat
Sebastian's.
my Pistons last
Don't let
night.
her lie.
I'll touch on
Her
that
eyes
game.
were
I'm not gonna
pleading,
get into it.
desperate.
I'm not going to get
A
into
test.
it. I'll touch on that game, but
A
right now, I think it's
DNA test.
time.
Genevieve
to
was
move on to a
confused.
team, y'all,
Of course
that
they're
I
yours,
think
Annie. Why would you
most
need a
of us
test?
have
A
sort
mother's
of written off,
instinct,
if that makes
Annalise
sense.
rasped.
We've sort of written
She
them
is a
off because one
viper.
of their star players got
She is
hurt,
capable of
right? We've sort of written them
anything.
off, right?
She planned for this.
Let's talk about
For
the
me to be
San
gone.
Antonio Spurs.
Don't let her
Y'all,
win.
I am awake.
For my baby's
I am
general,
locked
prove I
in.
am their mother.
I'm sorry.
It
Because
seemed
when
like a
Giannis
request born of delirium, but the intensity in Annalise's eyes was undeniable. It was her final wish, her last strategic move in a battle she was about to lose.
I forgot.
It was a mother's final
They
gambit
have
to
De'Aaron
protect
Fox
her
now,
young from
dropping
beyond the
31
grave.
points in 29
There's a
minutes,
lawyer.
5 rebounds, 5 assists,
Annalise
plus
continued her
time on the floor,
voice
11 for 10 from
fading
the
to a
field.
thread of sound.
Unbelievable.
Garrett Vance.
Ladies
Vance
and
and
gents,
Harrington
the
Legal.
Spurs have
In my
won 7
personal
out of their last
safe.
9
He knows
games,
everything.
all without
He'll help you.
Wemby.
She squeezed Genevieve's hand
7
one
out
last
of their
time.
last 9 games.
Tell
Let's
them,
just look at their
my
schedule in
babies,
these games.
I love them more than the
They beat
stars.
the Kings. Kings suck.
Her eyes
They
fluttered
beat the Grizzlies.
closed.
The Grizzlies
The
sucked at
monitor that had
point
been
in time.
beeping a slow,
They're starting to
struggling
click
rhythm
a little bit.
flatlined into
They
a
beat the
single,
Hawks, who
piercing,
were on
unbroken
fire.
tone.
They
Genevieve
lost
stood
against the
frozen,
Suns.
her sister's
Yeah,
hand
the Suns
still
were
warm
on
in
fire.
hers at the echo of
They
that
beat the
final,
Portland
terrible
Trailblazers. This is
sound
when they were
ringing
playing
in her
really well.
ears.
They beat the Nuggets
Annalise was gone.
in Denver, by the way.
In the hallway,
They
Sebastian's
lost against
cries of
Minnesota, and
grief
then they
were the
beat the
raw
Grizzlies,
sound of a
and then they
soul
beat
being
Orlando
torn
last night.
apart.
All capped
But
off
through
by
his
Luke
sorrow,
Kornet's
Genevieve could
game-winning
hear
block
Victoria's
on
voice
Franz
low
Wagner.
and soothing,
Ladies
already
and gents,
beginning to manage
I
his
gotta be
pain,
honest, man.
already
I
taking
was
control.
sleeping on this team.
The war was
I
over,
not ready
and Victoria
to
had
see what was
won.
going to happen. And
But
my
Annalise,
Lord,
with her dying breath,
offensively,
had just
they're
handed
great.
Genevieve a single
Defensively,
secret
they're
weapon.
okay.
A
They
mother's
still need
final
Wemby.
desperate whisper that might just
But
be loud
Luke
enough to
Kornet
burn
with the
Victoria's perfectly
game-winning
constructed
block
world to the
absolutely
ground.
sealed the game, hitting the
In
celebration,
the week following
hitting that
Annalise's death,
celebration to show off
Victoria
in Orlando.
Devereaux's transformation
It was a great
was
game.
complete.
Honestly, it was a great game.
She
And
moved with the
I gotta be
silent,
fully honest
efficient
with everybody,
grace
y'all.
of a predator,
You look at
claiming
this
her
roster right
territory.
here, they
The
are
penthouse on
so
Park Avenue,
young.
once filled with
Let's just
Annalise's
look through their
quiet
list.
taste,
Harrison
soft
Barnes,
neutrals
he's the
books, and
ugly
fresh
team.
flowers,
Bismack
was
Biyombo, he
systematically
doesn't really
purged.
play. He has to
Under
get
the
stuff like
guise
that.
of helping a
20
grieving
years old,
Sebastian
21 years
move
old, 24,
forward,
28,
she directed
19,
movers to
23,
pack
26,
away
24,
Annalise's
30,
belongings, donating her
29,
clothes
25,
to
34,
charities
22,
Victoria
25,
favored,
28,
and
22.
putting her personal effects into a sterile,
Ladies and
anonymous
They
storage
got the
unit.
pieces for Giannis if they
The
really
new
want.
nursery Jeffrey Lang's
forget that. They
celestial
have the
creation
pieces.
was finished.
And
It was
in
a
my honest
masterpiece
opinion,
of cold,
there's not
expensive
enough teams right
taste.
now that are talking about the Spurs
A
because
mural
here
of
I
the
said
cosmos
they're gonna
covered
fall out of
one
the playoff
wall,
spot
with the
without Wemby.
constellations
Well,
picked out
they're
in
doing it.
tiny, twinkling
They're
fiber
doing it.
optic
And I will
lights.
admit, like
The cribs were
one of my
made of
homies in the
polished
Twitch chat
chrome
just said,
and dark,
Mark
forbidding
Gold,
mahogany.
he said the game was a joke,
There was nothing
horrible calls
soft or
respectfully.
personal
There
about
was a
it.
lot of bad
It
officiating
looked like a
last night.
showroom,
There
a
was a
perfect
lot of bad
backdrop for the
officiating last
photos
night, and this game
Victoria
happened
was
to be one of
already
them.
leaking
But
to
I would
select
like to give
society
them a special
bloggers.
shout out because they came in, they
Sebastian
did their thing, they
was
hit
a
more
ghost
threes, they hit
haunting
more
his
free
own
throws, they
life.
got more rebounds.
Drowned in
They
guilt
got
and
more
grief,
blocks,
he
even
was
without
putty
Wemby.
in Victoria's
And,
expert
20
hands.
fouls this way, 19
He
fouls
signed
that way.
whatever she
The
put in
Spurs
front of him,
played very, very
agreed
well, and they
to whatever
continue
she
to do so,
suggested.
y'all. We gotta
He
talk
saw her
more about the
decisiveness
San
as
Antonio
strength,
Spurs. Guys, they've
her
won 7
ambition
out of their last
as a
9
lifeline
games. They
in
have
his
30+
sea of
draft picks in the
sorrow.
next 6
She
years.
handled the
Thank you,
funeral
Twitch chat,
arrangements,
for
turning what
mentioning
should
that.
have been
They
an
have the
intimate
picks, they have
memorial
the young
for a
players.
gentle
If they
soul
truly want to make
into a
splashes
power
with
player
Giannis,
event.
with
The
somebody,
pews of
they
St.
can.
Bartholomew's
They're one of
Church
the,
were
I'd say,
filled with
3 teams
Sebastian's
that
business
they should really be
associates
looking at
and board
for this
members,
trade.
a spectacle
Because the Spurs are
designed
looking
to
great,
showcase
and
the
they can
seamless
only get
transition
better
of
now.
power
Guys,
both in the boardroom
it's
and
not
in the home.
crazy to say
Victoria
that the
stood by
Spurs could be making
Sebastian's
some
side,
noise this
a
year.
portrait
It's
of
not crazy to
elegant
say
grief
that.
accepting
Because when they have firepower
condolences
like
as
Keldon
if she
Johnson
were
off
the
bench
widow.
that can literally drop 25 anytime he
Meanwhile,
wants.
Genevieve, fueled by a
And they have
cold,
Dylan Harper
hard
back.
rage, put her
I don't like
sister's
Jeremy
final
Sohan.
plan into motion.
Personally,
After the funeral, she
I'm not a
returned
fan
to the
of Jeremy
penthouse,
Sohan, but
citing
that's
the
okay.
need
I
to
like
collect
everybody
a
else
few
on
of
this game.
Annalise's personal items
And
she'd promised their mother.
one thing that I do love
Victoria
is that when
had been
Wemby was
dismissive,
playing, Harrison
but
Barnes
allowed
was
it
playing
shadowing
much,
her
much
through the
better.
apartment.
That's one thing that I've
With
noticed,
trembling
and that's
fingers,
sort of how
Genevieve
vets
found the
You know what I'm
personal
saying?
safe,
When you
hidden
have a vet
behind
on
a
your
painting
team,
in
the
Annalise's
stars
old
play
reading
better. Like
nook.
the old players
The
play
code
better
was the
when they have a
date
star
of their
around them.
parents'
I don't want
anniversary.
this game to define Harrison
Inside
Barnes 4 for
was a
12
simple manila
because
folder.
he has been
The name on the
incredibly,
tab read
incredibly
Garrett
steady for the San
Vance.
Antonio Spurs team.
Garrett
I would describe
Vance's
him as the
office at
Andrew Wiggins of
Vance
the
and
Miami
Harrington
Heat. I would
Legal
describe him as
was the
Tobias Harris of the
antithesis
Pistons
of the
more so last
Croft
year than this year.
penthouse.
Harrison Barnes is
It
not
was
getting enough
old
credit that
money,
deserves it,
all
'cause I feel like
dark
he
wood,
owns
worn
everybody
leather,
in.
and the
Sells
smell
them
of
good.
aging paper
Obviously, I
and
think they were missing
justice.
Castle last night, right? Yeah, they were missing
He was a
Castle. I
man
think it
in
would
his
be, and they
late
still
60s,
got it done
with
against
sharp
the
eyes that had
Orlando
seen the
team.
very worst
I
of
love to
human
see all of
nature.
this. I think it's
He had
looking
been the
very
Reed
good. I think I'm
family's
excited,
lawyer for
to see
decades
what this team can
and
do.
had drafted
I'm going to
Annalise's
say it
personal
again, though,
will
ladies and gents.
separate from the complex prenuptial agreement
Everybody's
she'd
turned
signed
on
with
the Pistons
Sebastian.
already just after their
Genevieve
one
sat across
comeback
from
here.
him, the folder
And
on
the
the
same thing's
polished
gonna happen
desk
to the
between them.
Spurs now that they're actually making some
She
noise.
told me
And
to
I
come
hate
to you.
that People turn on you.
Genevieve
so fast.
began, her voice
I'm going
shaking
to
slightly.
stay the unbiased fan
Her
I
last
am
words
and
were
root for
about
basketball
you
because, number one, I am
and
a
about a
Pistons fan,
DNA
but
test.
most importantly, I'm a basketball
Vance
fan,
steepled
and I
his
love
fingers, his
basketball.
expression
And what I
grim.
love to watch
I
is
am not
good basketball,
surprised.
and ladies
Annalise
and gents,
spoke to me
the
3
Spurs
months
play
ago. She was
good basketball,
concerned.
offensively and defensively.
He opened the
If they're
folder.
not hitting their
Inside
shots
were
that
notes
night,
from his
they are
last meeting with
still
Annalise.
not out.
She had suspicions about Miss
They are
Devereaux's
still not
character,
out.
of
I'm a
course,
professional
but it was
Spurs- I
more
was a
specific
professional
than
Spurs
that.
hater from my
She mentioned a
childhood
conversation
because
she
they beat my
overheard.
Pistons in 05.
Victoria was on the
There's one
phone
thing
with
that
an
you cannot
unidentified
deny
party
about the
speaking
San
in
Antonio
French,
Spurs.
assuming
When they
Annalise
have good
wouldn't
ball players,
understand.
The
But
NBA,
Annalise
in my
was
opinion,
fluent from her time studying abroad.
is some of the best.
What did
People
she
say,
hear?
"Oh, basketball's good when the
Genevieve
Knicks are
leaned
good."
forward, her heart pounding.
Basketball is good
She
when
heard the
Spurs are
words
good.
embryo
Look at the eras.
security and the
They won it
name
in
of a
90 with
very
David Robinson and Tim
exclusive,
Duncan.
very
They won it in the
discreet
early 2000s
fertility
with,
clinic
Ginobili,
in Zurich,
Tim Duncan,
the
Tony Parker.
Weissman
They won
Clinic,
it in the
Vance
2010s. This is a
explained.
dynasty that spread across
At the
three
time,
decades,
Annalise thought
right?
it was
No,
odd,
there's a reason why those
but
are all
couldn't
the
place
best
its
eras of
significance.
basketball.
She believed Victoria might
Now,
be
as far as
looking
the
into
Magic on the other
freezing
side,
her own eggs,
they did what
but
they
it troubled
can.
her.
In
She
my
felt
opinion,
Victoria was not
the
just
lack of
trying
shooting
to
on this
replace
team,
her,
I see
but
it.
to
We all see it, the lack of
appropriate
shooting.
her life,
Once these teams put them
her
into a
legacy.
zone, it's sort of
Her request for a maternity
doesn't
test
look
to be
so
performed
good.
in the event
Doesn't
of
look
her
so good.
death
Sort of like my
was a
death.
fail-safe,
I want to respond
a
to
way to
my homie
legally
Quick Spoken in
cement
the
her
Twitch
identity
stream.
as the
He said,
mother of
"Jeremy
her
Sohan is
children
our
to
lockdown.
protect
That's not
them from a
Wemby.
woman
Other
she
than that,
believed
he's
capable of
he's not-
anything.
he's not
The
that
plan
good
was audacious and
offensively,
fraught with
but
risk.
defensively, he
They
brings
needed
the energy, and
DNA
that's the
samples
only
from the
reason why he's got
twins
a
and
spot
from
in the NBA.
Annalise.
And I think
Getting
a
the
guy like
twins'
that can be in the
DNA
NBA for a
would
while
be
as
the
long as he
easy
actually
part.
gets prolific from
The
three-point
hospital
land.
routinely
Until
did
then,
heel prick
we'll
tests
see.
for
I
newborn
love Dylan
screening,
Harper. I'm glad
and
he's still
Vance,
playing
as the
20 to 30
executor of
minutes a game.
Annalise's personal estate,
And I think Dylan
could
Harper's
legally
going to be a player in
petition
this
for
NBA for a long
access
time.
to
I'm gonna
those
say
medical
this,
records
and
and
Spurs
samples,
fans,
citing a
don't yell
potential
at me.
genetic condition
Don't
that
yell at me
required
for what I'm about to
confirmation.
say.
It was a legal
De'Aaron
loophole,
Fox,
but a
listen,
solid
it was
one.
a happy accident that you guys
Getting
felt
Annalise's
second pick and got
DNA
Dylan Harper,
was
right?
simpler.
Second pick was
Vance had a notarized medical directive
It was a
from
happy
Annalise authorizing the collection of a
But
tissue sample by the
I said
coroner
this at the
for
beginning of the
genetic
season, I'm going to
preservation.
repeat myself again.
The final and most
De'Aaron
crucial
Fox
piece
is going
was
to
getting a
allow
sample from
Dylan
Victoria
Harper
to run a
and Victor
comparative
Wembanyama to
analysis to
grow
prove
as a
she was
duo.
not the mother.
But De'Aaron Fox is not going
How do
to
we
be
do that?
the
Genevieve
point
asked.
guard of this team.
She's a fortress. Miss Devereaux is arrogant,
I
Vance
think
said with a
It's
thin
going to
smile.
be a Dylan Harper
And arrogance creates
that is going to
opportunity.
evolve. Because
The
De'Aaron
opportunity
Fox
came a few
at his
days
peak
later.
was a top
Nathaniel
point
and
guard in the
Olivia
NBA.
were
I'm
finally
not denying
discharged
De'Aaron
from the
Fox's
NICU.
ability,
Victoria
but
orchestrated
this
their
is
homecoming
all
like a
happy
royal
accident.
event, complete with a
I believe that
photographer
Dylan
from a
Harper's
high
going to
society
leave.
magazine.
I believe that Stephon
She hosted
Castle's
a
going to
small,
leave, even though some
exclusive
Spurs fans
welcome
want to
home
trade him.
party
I
at the
don't know why.
penthouse for a few of her
But yeah,
closest
I don't
friends.
see De'Aaron Fox and the Wemby duo
Genevieve,
being
playing
something
the part
long
of the
term. I can
grieving
see it
sister-in-law,
being like
was there
going into
watching from the sidelines.
playoffs, winning a series,
She watched
winning
as
two series,
Victoria
and then
held
that's
Olivia
eventually
posing
their
for the
path to
camera,
team.
a
And that's all
perfect
dependent
image
on whether
of
or not
glowing
Wemby can
motherhood.
stay,
She saw her
you know,
take a sip of
healthy,
champagne
get healthy.
and place the glass down on a side
Yeah,
table.
that's all I really have
Working
to say
with a
about that
caterer
game.
that Vance
I
had
see some good
discreetly
comments on
recommended
TikTok.
to
That
Victoria's
moved way
assistant,
too fast,
a
so you guys
server
gotta do me a
was
huge
instructed
favor.
to clear that
Dude, like my
specific
homie
glass
Skylar
and keep it
just
separate.
came to the Twitch stream.
The
Skylar,
glass
thank
with
you so much for
Victoria's
the follow on
lipstick
Twitch.
stain and
If you guys would
DNA
like
on
to
the
join
rim
us
was
in the
collected
better
and
stream,
sent via
be
a
sure to
private
swing on
courier
the
to
Twitch.
the same
Link is
accredited
in my
lab,
bio.
processing
Let's
the
move
other
on
samples
to
GenPath
our
Diagnostics in
next game,
Philadelphia.
that I wanted to
As
talk
Genevieve
about.
left the
And I'm
party,
not going to
Victoria
dive
stopped her
too
at the
deep
door. I'm
into
so
this
glad you could
game
see the babies settled,
because I'm going to be
Victoria
talking
said,
about
her
the
voice
Mavericks a little
dripping
bit
with
later in the
condescending
podcast in
sweetness.
my,
You
in
can
a
go back to
segment I have
Chicago
later,
now with a
okay?
clear conscience. They're in good hands.
Y'all,
My
Texas is
hands.
scary right now.
Genevieve just
Texas
looked at
is
her.
Scary. It ain't
Enjoy
the
this,
California's
Victoria.
NBA
Enjoy
anymore.
it while it
It
lasts.
ain't. I don't know
A
if
flicker
you
of
guys have
annoyance
noticed.
crossed Victoria's face, but
Hey,
it was
shout out
quickly
Skylar,
replaced
game
by a
straight from
smug,
TikTok. I
confident
appreciate you,
smile.
Skylar.
She had the man, the money,
Let me just tell telling
and
you
the
this
children.
Stat, guys. I don't
She
even
was
need to
untouchable.
look at any stat boards because I know.
The architect of
Just so you guys
lies
know how
stood in
much
her
ball I
newly
know,
conquered kingdom,
let me show you
utterly
how much ball I
blind
know,
to
how
the
much
fact
ball I
that the
actually watch.
foundations were about to be pulverized
Through the
by a
first 10
truth
games
she
of this
never
season,
even imagined would be sought.
Cooper Flag
The meeting was set for
averaging,
2 o'clock on a
I
Tuesday
think, 13 and
afternoon,
a half points
10 days after the
and
twins' homecoming.
41% shooting from the
Garrett
field.
Vance had requested the presence of both
Can you believe that?
Sebastian
And
Croft
everybody
and
was- they
Victoria
had him at the
Devereaux
mic.
at his office for what he termed a final reading and execution of a codicil to Annalise Reed's personal will. Sebastian arrived, looking haggard but composed, dressed in a somber gray suit. Victoria was on his arm, a vision in a sharp black dress that was both mourning appropriate and fiercely powerful. She walked into the boardroom at Vance and Harrington Legal with an air of ownership, her eyes scanning the opulent room with appraisal. She assumed this was a formality, perhaps a small, sentimental bequest Annalise had left to a relative, a final piece of administrative untidiness to be swept away before her new life could officially begin. Garrett Vance sat at the head of the long mahogany table, a stack of leather-bound folders before him. His demeanor was impeccably professional, but there was a glint in his eye, the look of a seasoned hunter about to spring a trap years in the making. "Thank you for coming." Vance began, his voice calm and even. "As the executor of Annalise's personal estate, I am required to finalize all directives made prior to her passing. This meeting concerns the legal parentage and guardianship of the children Nathaniel and Olivia Croft." Victoria placed a reassuring hand on Sebastian's arm. "Garrett, I think that's quite clear. Sebastian is their father, and as his partner and their intended stepmother, I will be co-guardian. Our lawyers can handle the paperwork." She was already dismissing him. "Clarity is indeed what we are here to achieve, Miss Devereaux," Vance replied smoothly. He opened the first folder. "First, as per a request filed by my office on behalf of the estate to confirm the paternal lineage for the children's legal records, we have the results from GenPath Diagnostics." He slid a single sheet of paper across the table to Sebastian. "This document confirms with a probability of 99.9999% that you, Sebastian Croft, are the biological father of both Nathaniel and Olivia Croft." A wave of relief washed over Sebastian's face, a confirmation of a fact he never doubted, but was glad to see inarguable black and white. Victoria smiled a tight, triumphant smirk. This was good. This solidified everything. "Well, that's wonderful," she said. "A necessary but obvious formality." Indeed, Vance said, his eyes never leaving hers. A formality. However, Annalise's final directive was quite specific. It was born of a concern she shared with me months ago. She insisted that in the event of her death, a full DNA profile of the children be established, including maternity. Victoria's smile faltered. Maternity. Why on earth would that be necessary? She carried the children. She gave birth to them. A note of sharp irritation entered her voice. Annalise was a meticulous woman, Vance said, opening a second folder. She believed in the power of incontrovertible proof. This is the second report from GenPath Diagnostics. He slid another paper toward Sebastian, placing it directly on top of the first. This report compares the DNA of Nathaniel and Olivia Croft with a preserved DNA sample from Annalise Reed. As you can see, the results confirm with a 99.9999% probability that Annalise Reed is the biological mother. Sebastian stared at the paper, confused. Of course she is. I don't understand the point of this, Vance. This is cruel. It's dredging up pain for no reason. Not for no reason, Mr. Croft, Vance said, his voice dropping, taking on a harder edge. For protection. You see, Annalise had a theory, a fear. She feared that the woman who had so systematically tried to erase her from your life would attempt to erase her from her children's lives as well. She feared a lie would be told, that history would be rewritten. This document is her voice speaking from the grave. It is a legal, scientific fact. She is their mother.
I think there's a reason why they've
Victoria laughed a short, sharp, ugly sound. This is insane. It's the paranoid rambling of a sick woman. I have never for one moment suggested I was their biological mother. I am their mother now. In every way that matters. I am the one raising them, loving them. Are you? Vance asked softly. He reached for the third and final folder. This one was thinner. Annalise's concerns were specific. She overheard you discussing a clinic in Zurich, Miss Devereaux, the Weissman Clinic. It's known for many things, but its specialty is gestational surrogacy, and for its VVIP clients, discreet embryonic transfers and manipulations. It gave Annalise a chilling thought that you might one day try to claim the embryos were yours to begin with, or that a switch had been made, a lie that without her here to refute it, might have been believed. This is slander, Victoria hissed, rising slightly from her chair. It's a pathetic, posthumous attack. It is not slander if it is the truth, Vance said. He opened the final folder. Inside was a single sheet of paper. As a final precautionary measure to eliminate any and all future confusion about your role. We ran one last comparison. We tested your DNA, Miss Devereaux, against that of the twins. He didn't slide the paper. He held it up. The color drained from Victoria's face. The champagne glass, the caterer, the party, the trap. It shows with absolute certainty that you share no genetic markers with Nathaniel or Olivia Croft outside of the baseline for the general population. It scientifically, legally, and irrevocably proves that you are no biological relation to them whatsoever. He placed the paper on the table. The three documents lay there, a trinity of truth. The first confirming Sebastian as the father, the second confirming Annalise as the mother, the third confirming Victoria as a stranger. Sebastian finally looked up from the papers, his mind slowly, painfully processing the implications. He looked at Annalise's confirmed maternity, then at Victoria's confirmed exclusion. He saw the paranoia he had dismissed, the pleas he had ignored. He saw the overheard conversations, the strange comments, the possessive way Victoria had acted from the moment the twins were born. It all coalesced into a single, horrifying picture. Annalise hadn't been sick or paranoid. She had been seeing the truth. He turned his head and looked at Victoria. He didn't see the strong, supportive partner who had held him up. He saw a schemer, a usurper, a liar whose machinations had been so profound his dying wife had to use science to scream the truth from her grave. The woman laughing in the hospital hallway wasn't celebrating the birth of his children. She was celebrating the death of their mother and her own coronation. The air in the room grew thick and cold. Victoria's mask of indignation shattered, revealing a flicker of pure animal panic in her eyes. The paper didn't just exclude her, it exposed the sheer scale of her ambition. It proved that her entire performance of love and motherhood was a calculated fraud. Sebastian's hand trembled as he pointed to the documents. His voice, when it came, was a low, terrifying rumble, the sound of a kingdom of lies burning to the ground. What did you do? The silence that followed Sebastian's question was a living thing, heavy and suffocating. Victoria stared at the DNA reports on the table, as if they were venomous snakes. The carefully constructed world she had built over 2 years, a world of whispers, manipulation, and ruthless ambition, had been annihilated by 3 sheets of paper. She tried to recover, to spin one last web. Sebastian, darling, this is a misunderstanding. She began her voice, a desperate, placating purr. It's a trick. This lawyer, he's trying to drive a wedge
And that's what
between
you're
us
gonna get
to
with
honor
Carol
the
Fulton.
wishes of
Good games, bad games.
what?
But that is
Sebastian's
why I don't
voice was
care
dangerously
that
quiet.
Jaden Ivey is on
He
a
rose
restriction
slowly
right
from
now.
his
He
chair,
was having the game
his
of his
6'4"
season since his
frame
comeback.
seeming to
You
suck
keep
all the air from the
Jaden
room.
Ivey in the game.
The grief that had stooped
When
his
he is
shoulders was
playing
gone,
that well,
replaced by a
I
righteous
understand
fury
he's on a
so
minutes
cold
restriction,
it was
but he needs to play the
incandescent.
last 3 minutes.
Finish
JD
the
lost
sentence,
the Pistons that
Victoria.
game. The lack
The
of
wishes
effort
of a
lost the
what?
Pistons
A
that
sick
game.
woman,
Cade
my
did not
dying
shoot well
wife,
last night.
the mother
He
of
missed the
my
game-winning
children.
shot. He
She was
airballed the
delusional.
game-winning shot.
Victoria shrieked, her
Duren
composure
played
finally
soft as hell,
shattering.
like he did all
She was
last-
turning you
the
against
first
me.
half of
I did what I
last
had to do to
year. Duren,
protect
if
you,
want
to
that
protect
contract
our
extension,
future.
my boy, you
Our
better play like how you
future.
were for these last
Sebastian
couple
laughed, a
weeks.
harsh,
Because the
broken
last couple
sound
games, from what I've
devoid of
seen
any
with Duren,
humor.
has not looked
There
good.
is no our
And
future.
I'm going to say this so that
There is
everybody,
only my future
everybody
with my
who's
children.
watching me
Annalise's
will
children.
know what I'm talking about from
He
here
finally understood
to
the
end
depth
of, this
of her
season,
betrayal.
okay? And
It
use
wasn't
this as
just the
conversation
affair.
pieces with your friends.
It was the calculated parasitic cruelty. It was
The
her
Pistons
smiling while
have
his wife was
no
dying.
shooters
It was her
outside
trying
of
to
Duncan
erase a
Robinson.
good,
He has
gentle
been
woman's
lights out
existence.
shooting 50% from three this
Annalise's
season.
final act
Sort
wasn't
of
one
like
of paranoia.
last season
It was an
with Tim
act of
Hardaway and
perfect,
Malik
heartbreaking clarity. She
There's
knew exactly who
rumors that
Victoria
Malik Beasley is
was,
coming back
and
he's
she
going
had
to the
provided
Pistons.
him with the irrefutable
Now,
proof he had been
listen to
too
me,
blind
chat,
and
and
weak to
listen
see for
good.
himself. "Get out," he said,
Asar
his voice
Thompson
dropping
can't
to a
shoot.
lethal
That's
whisper.
fine.
"Sebastian, don't
And
do
what
this,"
people
she pleaded,
seem to
her eyes
misconstrue
darting between
is
him
that
and Garrett
Asar
Vance,
Thompson is a
who watched
negative
the
on
proceedings
offense.
with the grim satisfaction
Ladies
of a
and
man
gentlemen,
whose client had just been
Asar
vindicated.
Thompson, last night,
Everything I
shows you
did,
exactly why
I did
the
for us.
Pistons
I
lose
love
these
you.
games.
The only thing you love is what I
Asar
can give
Thompson, when
you.
he's on the court,
Sebastian countered, his
plus
voice raw
25.
with disgust. He rounded the table
Pistons,
and stood before
when Asar
her.
Thompson
"You
is
stood
off
by
the
me
court,
while my wife
is a
died,
minus
and you planned her replacement.
24.
You walked into her home and threw out
So
her
I
memory.
understand
You held
Asar
my
Thompson
children and
cannot
called them
shoot.
yours.
I understand.
You
Asar
are a
Thompson
monster,
is so raw.
and I let you do it."
understand all of this.
His self-loathing was as immense
But
as
when
his
Asar
anger.
Thompson is on the court,
"My
the
security
Pistons
is downstairs.
are twice
They will
of a
escort
better
you from
team.
this
When
building.
Asar Thompson
You will go
is
to the
off
penthouse where they
the
will
court,
watch you
the
pack a
Pistons
single
are
bag.
twice as
Anything you
worse
acquired during your time
when
with
he's
me,
off
you
the
will
court.
leave.
This
The
has
car,
been
the
an
jewelry, the
ongoing
clothes,
basis
all of it.
since last
Then
year
you
when
will
he
be
returned from
escorted
his
off
blood
my
clots.
property. Your position at Argent
Over
Industries
and
is
over
terminated
again.
effective
JD
immediately.
Bickerstaff
If you
takes
ever
him
try
out
to
to go
contact
over
me
these
or my
all
children
offensive
again, I will use
lineups
every
of
ounce of
Cade,
my fortune and
Jenkins,
power to
Levert.
destroy what little is
What are
left
we
of your
doing here?
life. Am I
Your
clear?
team is better when Asar's on the court.
Tears of
Your
rage
team
and
is better
humiliation
when Asar
streamed
and
down
Durant are on the
Victoria's
court together.
face.
You leave
She looked at him one
in
last
crunch
time, searching for a crack in his resolve, but
There's
found
no
only
reason
steel.
The Pistons right now
The game
have
was
a
over.
12-man rotation.
She had lost.
And that is what is
Without another
started
word,
the
she
loss of,
turned
like,
and
this-
fled the
this-
room.
this 3-3 in
Sebastian
the last 6
sank
games.
back into his
It's
chair,
this
his head in his
big-ass
hands,
lineup that
the
JD is
rage
running.
dissolving
I
into a
understand you're
vast,
trying to be the
empty
team's
ocean
coach.
of
I
guilt.
understand you're trying to be a
He
friend
had
to these
failed
players.
Annalise
At
in
some
every
point,
conceivable
you have to
way.
realize who's
He had let a
winning you
viper
games
into
and
their
who's
home,
losing you games.
and his wife had paid the ultimate price. "Mr. Vance," he said, his
Also,
voice
Isaiah
muffled.
Stewart, I know he
"Thank
got
you.
chewed out in the locker
And tell
room
me,
after that game from Cade,
what else did she leave?"
because this is not working.
Vance pushed another, thicker envelope
A
across the
12-man
table.
rotation works
This.
if your 12-man rotation
She wrote it for
has
you to
been
be opened
utilized
only upon
all
this
season long,
outcome.
Dark. The fact that he is
Sebastian's
just bringing
hands
up from a
trembled
9-man,
as he opened
10-man
it.
to a 12-man
Inside
does
was a letter,
not work.
written in
And of
Annalise's
course, I
elegant,
know Isaiah
familiar
Stewart's going to-
script.
He got chewed out in the locker room.
"My
Big Cunningham was
dearest
pissed last
Sebastian,
night.
if you are
could've
reading
beat the
this,
zone. They had
then
zero
it means my
spacing.
greatest
Yes, I
fear
know
has
Cade
come
can't
to
shoot,
pass,
but they have
but also that my
zero
deepest hope has
spacing
been
when Duncan's not on
realized.
the court, and that's why these teams can go
You see
freely
the
on
truth.
in the zone.
That is
Stu
all
got
I
in
ever
an
wanted.
argument With, here's the thing.
I do not write
Stu,
this to
Isaiah
condemn
Stewart
you.
Has the worst
I know
whistle in
your
the entire
heart,
NBA
Sebastian.
As far as
I fell in love with the man who could get lost in a
Stu got whacked
sunset,
in the face
not the
twice
titan of
from Bobby
industry.
Portis. Twice.
I
And
know
what did
that
Stu
man
do?
is still in
He
there.
reacted to getting
Do not
smacked in
let
the face
grief and
twice.
guilt
They didn't
consume
touch
you.
Portis. In fact, Portis
They are poisons, and our children need a
touched
father,
Isaiah
not a
Stewart,
ghost.
swiped his hand hand away.
They need the man
Still
who
get
dreamed
together.
of teaching his son to sail and his daughter to
His-
read a star chart.
He needs to
They need
understand
you.
that these refs are not going to
Don't
help
let
him.
them think I
Because
abandoned
without
them.
Isaiah Stewart,
Tell them
this
about
team
me.
is buns.
Tell them I was quiet,
Isaiah Stewart
and that I
spreads the
loved
floor.
books
Isaiah Stewart
and the smell of
gets
rain.
you 3 to 5 blocks.
Tell them
a
my
game.
love for
You
them
needed Isaiah
was
Stewart
the
on the court.
last and most powerful thing
He needs to
I
learn
ever
how to
felt.
control his temper because he knows the refs
It is a
are not
love
going
that
to
does
take his
not
side.
end with a
Not after what he
heartbeat.
did to LeBron 5
It
years
is
ago.
in them
Once you have that
now,
reputation,
and it
it's
is in
dangerous.
you.
Thank you, Solo.
Victoria
I'd like to give a
preyed
special
on
shout out
your
before we move
ambition.
on. I'm sorry, I didn't want to talk about
My
the
final
Pistons,
wish is that
but
you let
just
your
pay
love
attention
for
to the
our
trends that I
children
mentioned,
be
because
your
you're not
new
going to.
ambition.
Like anything that you're going
Let
to,
it be the
anytime you're
thing
going to
that
watch the
guides
Pistons, you're
you.
going to remember this
Protect
rant
them.
that I just had.
Love
Okay?
them
Because
enough for the both of
I
us.
haven't missed a single second of this
Farewell,
game.
my love.
We're not speaking about the Knicks.
Annalise.
They got a good win. They got a good
The
win
dam
last night,
broke.
but it's against the Hornets.
Sebastian
We're not gonna talk
Croft,
about the Knicks today's
the
podcast.
billionaire titan who had never shed a
We talked
tear in a boardroom,
extensively about
wept.
them yesterday.
He
I'd
wept
like
for
to
the
give a
woman
special
he had
shout out before we
lost,
move
for
on
the
to our
love
final
he had
segment.
betrayed,
Will,
and for
shout
the
out to
second
Will
chance he
for leaving
didn't
the TikTok
deserve,
stream
but
and
had
coming
just
through to
been
the Twitch
given.
stream. I appreciate you, Will. All right, guys,
He
let's
went
move on
home.
to our final segment of today's
He walked past
episode,
the cold celestial
where
nursery
we're gonna talk
and had
about
it
teams that
stripped
should blow
bare
up.
that
And I know
very day.
if you're on the Twitch stream,
He
the
called
name of the
Genevieve,
team
who had been
already
waiting,
popped up.
and asked her, his voice
I
breaking,
gotta
to
start
come
off
help
by
him.
saying, don't throw
To help him
tomatoes at
choose
y'all.
colors
I understand
Annalise
they're
would
on a
have
3-game
loved to
streak.
fill the
I hear
room
y'all.
with warmth and light. His
Right
reign of
now, I think
ashes
this
had
is just a
begun.
showcase
He had lost
of
his wife,
Anthony Davis.
his
Right now, I
self-respect,
did, Eric. Yes,
his
I think
ignorance.
right now is just a
But in the
showcase of
wreckage
what
holding
Anthony
his
Davis
son
can
and
do
his daughter,
and what he's
he felt the
consistently
first
he can do
flicker
for another
of a
team.
new purpose.
Ladies and gents, I
He
gotta
would
be
spend
honest,
the rest of his
Anthony
life
Davis is
honoring
not in the
Annalise's
timeline of this
memory,
team
not with a
anymore.
grand
You have a
monument
Ryan
of
Nembhard, which I
stone,
know is still early
but
to
by
tell.
being the
You
father
have,
she had prayed
Cooper
he would
Flag,
be.
which you got blessed with.
It was a
You got
debt
a
he
bunch
could
of young
never
pieces. I
repay,
think it's time,
but one he would spend his every
this team,
remaining
it's not
breath
built
trying
for
to
Anthony
honor.
Davis, who's turning
So what
33 in March.
happens when a web of
They're
deceit
not on the same
is
timeline. I'm
finally
not
torn
denying that Anthony
apart
Davis is playing
by
well,
an
but
undeniable
Anthony Davis
truth?
and,
For Sebastian
Cooper Flag are
Croft,
not on the
it
same
marked the
timeline.
beginning
I think
of a
it's time
long,
to blow
painful
this
journey
entire team
toward
up,
redemption,
get some young
a life dedicated to the
acquisitions,
two
get
children
some-
his
get
late
some
wife,
future,
Annalise, had so
draft
bravely
stock.
saved.
Get some
Victoria
good pieces,
Devereaux
because you have
vanished
so
from
many
high
movable
society,
players on this
a
team.
ghost of her
You
own
need to trade
ambition,
Anthony
a
Davis.
cautionary tale whispered
You
at
need to
cocktail
trade-
parties. The story of Annalise's
Klay
final gambit serves
Thompson,
as a powerful,
D'Angelo
heartbreaking
Russell's on an
reminder
expiring deal.
that a mother's love is a
Caleb
force
Martin.
that even
These
death
are
cannot
all
extinguish,
tradable
and
contracts.
that the
All
truth,
of
no
them.
matter how
Now,
deeply buried, will
what I'm about
always
to say might
eventually
sound
find
insane.
its way to the light. Thank you for listening
That
to
said,
this
I think we
story.
need to just wipe
If
the
it
slate
moved
clean.
you, please consider
Trade
hitting the
Kyrie.
like button, sharing
not
it
gonna
with
work,
someone
y'all.
who loves
I'm
a
not a
story
fan.
of justice, and subscribing to
They
our
could be much
channel for
better.
more tales
They
of
could be
drama,
much better.
betrayal,
None of these guys
and
fit
ultimate
Cooper Flagg's
vindication.
timeline.
Your
Kyrie's
support
33, turning
means the
34.
world to us.